Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Michael, your host here at MTT Finance. Today's video is going to be a little bit different as I'm going to be compiling 10 different financial and money lessons that I have learned over the course of the year 2020. You see, for me, 2020 was a very life-changing year, as I know it was for a lot of people, but maybe not for the reasons that you see typically on the news and hear about. In the beginning of February, I got engaged. In August, I bought a house, and in October, I got married. And those three things, coupled with the craziness that was 2020, I have learned many different financial lessons, which I'm going to share with you today. The first financial lesson that I learned the hard way in 2020 was that I desperately need to have a budget each month. You see, before buying the house, before getting engaged, before getting married, I was practically, I would say, financially independent, meaning that my job that I do each day throughout the week was making me enough money that I was able to pay, threefold on my student loans each month, put extra money towards my car payment each month, and basically just my car and my student loans were the only bills I had. So my job perfectly covered that, and I had plenty of money left over, didn't really have to buy any groceries for myself, and all my other bills are very, very small. But when I got married and bought a house, all of that changed. Once I bought the house, there was a mortgage payment due each month. And when you move out of your parents' house, you have to start doing things like buying groceries, which was a completely new experience for me, as I've never really done that, never really had to provide food for myself. In addition to that, you have things like homeowners insurance and car insurance and phone bills and internet to pay for. And all these extra bills, which I had never before had to pay for or even look at, they are now piling on faster than I can count them and faster than I can keep up. And it became very apparent to me that if I didn't start looking for ways that I could save money and budget and know how much is coming in and how much is going out each month, I was going to be drowning and not being able to keep up with my finances. And so 2020, if it's taught me anything, it's that I desperately need to create a budget and stick with it. The second major thing that 2020 has taught me, and this is one that when I look back, I could absolutely kick myself for not learning about earlier, and that is 2020 has taught me that I desperately need to invest my money. If you've watched the stock market over this past year, you would see that back in March when everything first started with all the craziness, everyone panicked and had fear and they sold all their stocks, which meant that big companies' stock prices went way down. Now, the bright side to that is that when the economy does recover, all those stock prices go right back up and maybe even higher, as they did, and you can make yourself a nice small fortune. However, it wasn't until around, I would say maybe May or June, that I started to actually take an interest in learning about the stock market and how to invest. And yes, by that time things were still going up, but I had really missed the big train of the investing spree that happened back in March and April. So instead of just looking back and moping over a missed opportunity, I've used that to now learn about the stock market, learn about how to invest, and prepare for my future of investing. The third thing that 2020 has taught me is that I need to both increase my earnings per month and increase my savings per month. Talked about this a little bit with the budget statement. Obviously, I need to be able to monitor my savings and be able to save more money. But in addition to that, I think it's very important now, I see from what 2020 has taught me, that it's a good idea to have more than just one source of income. It's great to create passive income sources or even a side hustle business or something small that can help cover one or two bills each month. The fourth thing that 2020 has taught me, and this came about as I was becoming more and more interested in finances and watching financial channels on YouTube, and that is to just, I would say, appreciate where I am at now with my financial journey on my road to becoming financially independent. It can be so easy when you watch people on YouTube or watch videos or read books. You see their success story and you want to wake up the next day and be in their shoes. And that's not how things work. And so when I start to have these thoughts thinking that, having 4 more sources of passive income is going to solve all my problems, I basically just need to take a step back and be thankful and see the different blessings that are in my life and how I actually have been blessed this year in 2020 and be grateful for what I have. Financial lesson number 5 that I've learned from 2020. This one's a little humorous, and that is I've learned to not annoy people by talking about money all the time. So 2020 was a very eye-opening year for me in terms of learning about finance and how to better manage my money. And I'm the type of person that when I learn about something, I want to talk about it 24/7. And you usually talk about those things with the people that are closest to you, which just so happens to be my wife. The thing is that we don't always see eye to eye on financial things, and she doesn't always want to hear about money and all my bright ideas on how to make more money. And so I've learned to just kind of take a step back, talk about it when she wants to talk about it, and not create enemies with my wife by just blabbing my mouth all the time about finances. Which that creates a nice segue into lesson number 6 that I learned in 2020, and that is the importance of having people in your life that you can talk to about your financial goals and about money and about investing. Currently at this time, I do have a pretty good friend of mine that I like to talk about investing and different stocks that we're looking at and different strategies that we use to invest. And I believe that that's a very important thing to have. Any journey you make is not as fun to make when you're traveling it alone. And so it's good to surround yourself with people who are maybe like-minded or who can challenge you on your goals and help you learn more about a subject that you're interested in. Financial lesson number 7 that I learned during the year 2020, and this one's actually the one that kicked off my financial journey and made me become more aware of growing wealth and my own finances, and that is reading financial books can actually be pretty fun. So my financial awakening, or the start to my journey, if you want to call it that, started with me reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I know a lot of people start by reading that book. It's a super duper popular book. And so I bought it on my Kindle for like $2 or something like that. And I spent the entire night just reading it because it was a super duper easy read. But ever since then, I've really enjoyed reading other financial books. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't enjoyed every financial book that I've read. Some of them I'll either disagree with or they're just not the funnest thing to read. Especially for me, I'm not really a big fan of the self-help financial books, the ones that are all just about changing your mindset. Those ones can be, I guess, very practical in how you're supposed to think, but it's just not my forte, and I feel very weird reading them. I'm more interested in the ones that give me a rundown of how to invest and what type of stocks to look for and how to budget and how to do it efficiently and effectively. Financial lesson number 8. Yeah, I got 8 fingers up now, that I've learned over the year 2020, and that is to enjoy the process, be patient with myself. Like I said before, I think it was the 4th goal I talked about appreciating what I have right now. This one kind of goes hand in hand in that, and just being patient during the journey. It can be so easy, like I said, to just watch one video of someone who's became successful and they have passive income sources that pay for all their bills, and to just look at that and go, well, I want to be in their shoes tomorrow. And that's not how it works. That's not how it worked for them either. We fail to see the backstory sometimes of how it took them years to get to that point, or it took them a ton of hard work that you don't just see in that 10-minute video where they talk about their success story. A big lesson I've learned is just to be patient with myself, let the process play out, stick to it, don't quit when it's hard, don't quit when you don't see the progress you want to and the growth that you want to see. Financial lesson number 9 that I have learned this year, and that is to not be afraid to make money mistakes. Now, I'll caveat this one by saying that I'm not out there trying to make mistakes. In fact, if anything, I'm doing the research and watching videos and reading so that I don't make the mistakes. I've heard it said that a smart man learns from his mistakes. A smarter man learns from the mistakes of others. And so I'm trying to be the smarter man here and learn from the mistakes of others. That way I don't go out and make them myself. having fear that you're going to fail oftentimes leads to fear of even starting. And in that case, you've already failed because you haven't started the journey. So I've learned to just be more open and more just a go-getter when it comes to my financial goals and financial goal setting and actually taking action towards meeting my financial goals and where I would like to be, say, 5 years from now. And finally, lesson number 10 that I have learned over the course of 2020 when it comes to money and finances, and that is the importance of setting goals for myself in regards to where I would like to be financially, say 1 year from now or 6 months from now or even 5 years from now. I can't remember exactly when it was during this past year, but I actually wrote out on a little index card, a little 3x5 index card of the different financial goals I wanted to achieve by the end of, well, this past year. One of them was like I wanted to have $1,000 invested in my Roth IRA. I wanted to have a brokerage account open with X amount of money invested in stocks. The other thing I think was I wanted to pay off one of my other smaller student loans and have that done away with. And I believe I was actually able to get most of the goals I wrote down on that 3x5 index card. And just doing something like that allows you to visualize and see the things that you're putting your mind and your strength and your blood, sweat, and tears towards. It's also important for me not to just focus on my long-term goals of, becoming financially independent and possibly being able to retire early and having other sources of passive income or growing a business, but instead to also create and look at and focus on short-term goals. It's meeting and achieving those short-term goals that oftentimes gives me motivation and inspires me to continue pursuing the long-term goals. When I just look at the long-term goals, those seem so far away and so difficult to achieve. But when I can achieve and visualize the short-term goals, those are much more attainable, and it just feels good when you can achieve those, and then it helps you visualize and see yourself achieving those long-term goals. But anyway, these are the 10 different financial lessons I've learned over the course of 2020, and who knows what 2021 is going to teach me. Hopefully I'm an open learner and not just a stubborn mule. Who knows what 2021 is going to bring us, but I think the important thing to do is not to be fearful, but instead to just approach every situation with an open mind on how to best tackle it. And then when the situation or the event is over, see what you've learned from it and how you can use what you have learned as a resource for future events and whatever else is going to happen in this coming year. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you would like to, leave a comment down below of something that you have learned financially over this past year. It is good to hear from other people who are on this financial journey with us together and know that we're not alone. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end with all my 10 different lessons that I've learned, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.